This video is not just a demonstration of drawing a simple and elegant bay window, but it's also a demonstration of the need to understand a really important thing that happens when we draw that can really mess up our drawings. And if you have problems with proportions, this may be an unexpected contributing factor in it. And I've never heard it talked about in any drawing videos except one or two of mine, but really is just a very quick point moving on between other points. But it can affect any drawing subject, not just architecture, but it is particularly a danger when drawing architecture for a reason which will become clear shortly. And let me say, at the end of the video, I'll show you a way of working out, is this a problem for you? Is this really an issue in your drawing, particularly if you draw architecture? There's a very simple way of working out if it is or not that just takes a few seconds. And this particular subject, this bay window, despite being so simple, is actually a great example to show what I'm talking about. Now, the problem is, in general terms, that we simply don't think of and we don't allow for the line width when it comes to its impact on proportions. Now, we probably do think about the line width, and we should, when we choose the pen that we're going to draw with. We want a pen that's going to be wide enough to create the black on white impact that we want our drawing to have for the particular style and for the end result that we want. But we also need to have a line width that's going to be fine enough, if need be, to draw any detail that's there as well, so that we don't just get inky blobs that all join together, that we can separate the different marks that we're wanting to put on the paper to create a certain effect. And we may also, as I often do and suggest, change our pen for different parts of our drawing, particularly going to a finer pen when we're doing further away elements of our scene, as part of the way we can help create the effect of depth, the sense of depth, put 3 dimensions into our 2-dimensional sheet of paper. But as I said, we probably don't think about our pen width when it comes to the proportions of what we're drawing. So lines have a width, and conveniently they're usually written on the pen in some way. In this case, I'm using a 0.3 millimeter pen, which is a pretty fine line. But if you look at the reference, if you look at the parts of the subject that I am now translating into a line, representing with a line on the paper, most of the time they're edges or corners. And if we look hard at the reference, I think we can see that the, in inverted commas, line, that edge is even thinner than the line I'm drawing it with. In fact, often you could say that the corner that I'm using a line to draw has no width. It's where 2 planes come together and meet in a point that's less than any point I could draw on the paper and have it visible from any distance at all. So this is the problem. No matter what thickness of pen I use, the line I produce is going to be thicker than the edge I'm trying to represent. And with architecture, we have a lot of edges, often very close together. Now, if I have a wall that's blank, it's not such a problem, because there's a lot of width with no markings on it from edge to edge. But if I have a drawing such as this bay window, where I'm looking at, from an angle, at various pieces of timber or beading, or just the way the building curves at that point, I get a lot of vertical lines or a lot of vertical edges and corners, either coming out or moving inwards away from me, very close together. And part of creating the effect of the architecture is to capture all of these, is to have these depth lines where things go in and come out. Problem is, in my reference, these corners, these edges, have virtually no width. But with every line I put on my paper, I'm creating width that's not there in reality. And when we draw, the way we normally do it is we see the shape on our reference and we draw lines so that the white space between the lines represents the shape in our reference. Now that's a natural way to do it because we see the whiteness between our lines and we perceive that as the shape in our reference. And that's not a problem if we're just doing one shape. But if we have a lot of shapes, a lot of very thin shapes close together, and I focused on the white space between my lines, the gaps between my lines as being the object I'm drawing, what happens is all of those line widths are, if you like, additional to the width that I'm seeing in my reference. And when I stack a lot of these together, whether it's vertically or horizontally, then the impact of that is that the width of my drawing, of my total drawing subject, spreads wider, or if the lines are horizontal, higher than in my reference. And this ends up pushing out proportions out. So if I look at these windows, for instance, I'm trying to draw them actual size, since that's the most straightforward way to do it. And for every vertical line I've got, and I've got quite a few there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's probably at least 15 vertical lines going across the total bay window section. And each of those has a width of, 0.3 millimeters, which is really giving me a total width, if they're all put together, of about 5 millimeters. Now, as I enclose area with them, if I'm focusing on the white space being the shape, then I'm inserting 5 or 6 or 7 millimeters into my width simply with my line widths. I hope this is making sense. Please hit the like button if it is, and if you think this might be helpful for you, that would be great. So if we don't allow for the line width and compensate for it in the space we enclose in the amount of white, we're going to blow out the width the more vertical lines we have, or blow out the height the more horizontal lines that we have. And this issue will be exacerbated greatly if we're drawing smaller than our reference. We need to be compensating for this width that we're inserting into our drawing that's not in the reference by letting the center of our line be the edge that we're representing. Now that means that half of the ink line, half of that width, is going to be overflowing into the space that we're drawing. And it's going to happen on both sides if it's an area that we've drawn lines down both sides. And this becomes perhaps a bit harder to do when we have very thin strips that we're trying to enclose in horizontal or vertical lines. Because if we allow for the line width, it's going to be a noticeably thinner section of white that we create than what we see as the width of that space in our reference. And the thicker our pen, the wider our pen line is, the more this is going to happen. And so particularly if we draw with a 0.5 or a 0.7 or a 1 millimeter pen, this is going to be more significant. What we don't want is that every vertical line we draw is actually pushing our proportions out horizontally. Now, if we have the same number of horizontal and vertical lines, then that it may even out. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that. But it certainly is a problem when there's a predominance of vertical lines or horizontal lines, that the imbalance spreads in one direction, and it ends up making our bay window, in this case, look pudgier, look wider than it should. And the same upwards on the bit that I'm drawing now, this overhanging kind of eave type effect of corners coming out, where we have a lot of horizontal lines close together, the same thing happens. And a good way of working out, a good way of avoiding this is to actually put dots on the paper as we draw that represent the entire width. So it helps us work out where we have to fit these horizontal lines or vertical lines so that the whole width or the whole height doesn't spread, that we do in fact spread the line width between all the vertical spaces that we're creating or all the horizontal spaces that we're creating. And here is the way I check against line width creep. It's really simple, which is what I call it. So I get a sheet of scrap paper and I get my reference, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm marking on my reference where the vertical lines, changes, shadows are. And now I get to compare that with my reference, and I see that I'm I don't know, maybe 1.5 millimeters out. So that's okay. I'm not going to sweat about that. So now I check the vertical, and I'm just marking the shadowed areas because they'll help me to just align this quickly. And there aren't as many vertical marks that I want to check, so I'm more likely to have gone wider than higher with this. So let's compare it now on the vertical. And I actually end up having a bit of trouble checking this. And can you see what I've done wrong? I didn't see what I'd done wrong at this point. So if you can, you're ahead of me. I'm thinking, no, I can't be that far out. I can't be like 1.5 centimeters out, surely. So now I check again. I think, let me just confirm this, and I do the same thing, I think. Again, yep, I'm doing it wrong. Nah, I'm thinking this can't be. And then it twigs what I've done wrong. I've used 2 of the marks from the width check instead of aligning it with the correct top 2 marks for the height check. And so now when I look at it, it's pretty close, so that's okay. But this is such an easy way of checking whether we've allowed for the width of our lines. It's a great way of checking our proportions for accuracy anyway, but it's an incredibly helpful way to see whether it's our line width which is making them inaccurate. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Hope this has been helpful. Why not use this method to check the accuracy of your latest drawing? But hey, in the end, whatever you've drawn, however it's turned out, allowing for width lines or not, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.